Succession planning is the key to ensuring your organization stays strong, resilient, and ready to fill crucial positions when needed. It's about more than just having replacements in line. It's about preparing and developing talent from within so the organization continues to thrive, even when key employees move on. Because let's face it, no one is indispensable and staff changes happen, usually at the time you least expect it and when it's super inconvenient. And when that happens, we need expert help because staffing is so important. So I'm pleased to welcome Chuck Violand to our program today. Chuck has the solution. Hi, Chuck.
Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Doing good. Hey, we are cranking it out, Chuck. Every chapter is an episode. Forging Dynasty Businesses. We are going to talk about chapter 10.
And wow.
Yeah, chapter 10. Positional success planning. A fantastic topic because I think, Chuck, this might be one of those things that may get ignored a bit. But
Yep.
let's start out here.
Yep.
We need a good sports analogy to kick off today's episode.
I think I've got one, Jeff.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Now, this one goes back a few years, but I think that most of our viewers are going to recognize a few of the names. So it's September 23rd of 2001, and the New England Patriots are playing the New York Jets. New England's starting quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, gets injured in the game and is replaced by a rookie quarterback named Tom Brady. Now, Brady goes on to win the game and to lead the New England Patriots the rest of the season and then to a Super Bowl victory. And as they say, the rest is history. So as you can imagine, the U.S. military also has their own version of succession planning, with the most basic being having somebody ready to step up if a commanding officer goes down in battle. Now, rarely is business a matter of life or death, but succession planning is still mighty important. And a lot of this comes down to bench strength. How strong are the people in your company? And who's capable of stepping up if somebody leaves? And Jeff, this has to do with all the positions in your company, not just technicians. It includes salespeople, bookkeepers, office managers, operations people, everybody.
Well, thanks for that, Chuck. We all love a good sports analogy. Poor Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Of course, he's responsible for Tom Brady, I guess, in a way. Let's talk about this. What are some common succession planning weaknesses, Chuck, that you see that can be devastating to a company or an organization?
Good question, Jeff. And, by that question, do you mean other than thinking that we're going to live forever or that we're never going to get hurt or ill or thinking that nobody can do our job as well as we can? Those are all huge weaknesses in our thinking, and they lead to some of the actions or inactions that we take as business leaders. As far as other weaknesses, though, a couple that stand out. The first is waiting too long to start thinking about successors in various positions. Now, frequently it takes us so long just to find the right person to fill a position in our company that we don't take the time to consider what happens if they might leave at some point. Another is exhaustion or burnout. It's no secret that running a business can be exhausting. Many of us don't take the time to recharge our batteries or even just to catch our breath. As a result, we fall into a reactive mode and rather than a proactive mode. So rather than planning ahead, we wait for something to happen and then we react. And probably another one, and I'll wrap it up with this one, that I've seen frequently is assuming that simply because somebody shares your last name, that they're either qualified for a position or that they even want the position. And while we've all seen examples of where this has worked out great, and I applaud that, I feel that they're the exception rather than the rule. But we could still fill another podcast on that one, Jeff.
Absolutely. And is there a Chuck Jr. ready to step in for you?
Actually, there is not a Chuck Jr. waiting to fill in for me. None of the kids expressed an interest in the business, and so we've moved in another direction.
So with that in mind, Chuck, how does a business owner create a strong succession planning strategy?
Yeah. This starts with a clear picture of where the company's going, all right? This usually involves a business plan, but not always. Okay, what are the company's goals for future growth? Look, if you're a small organization and you want to keep it a small organization, then finding backups for positions is going to be a very limited issue. But if you have plans to grow the company or expand on the service offerings the company offers, or expand geographically by adding additional offices, then you can use this as a baseline for your succession plan because the structure of your company is going to change and you're going to need strong people to do this successfully. This will also give you some insights into the skills that you'll be looking for with these successors.
Okay, Chuck, we know the plan. How do you identify those strong successors? Because everyone wants to move up.
Well, most people want to move up, but not everybody does. But let's just look at the ones that do. And Jeff, in my opinion, the single most important factor is cultural fit. I know you would expect me to say that, but I've seen it too often. Are the successors' values, the person that you want to move up, are they in alignment with the company's values and your own values? This means things like drive, personal integrity, character. Here's why I start here with this. Okay, it doesn't matter how good a successor is with a technical perspective or how smart they are. If their values are not in alignment with the owners, it just will not work out long term. At some point, you get worn down having to cover for their character flaws or having to explain them away.
And now to one of my favorite parts is the real life example you have in the chapter where you write about how the structure can be the culprit. That sounds like a movie, Chuck. Talk about that.
Yeah. This was a painful one for me, Jeff. And the example in the book and telling it here on camera, it's painful because I was the consultant with this client, and it had to do with my client's project managers having way too much autonomy. If you know anything about project managers, and my apologies in advance if I'm offending any project managers, but you know that they can be prima donnas. Now, naturally, not everybody, but many are. And that was the case here. We gave them way too much leash and too little oversight. I cautioned my client about it, but quite frankly, I was not firm enough in following up. He ended up having two of his four PMs poached by a competitor. And when they left, they took their customers and all that revenue with them to the competitor. Jeff, that hurt bad. It nearly sank the company. It was very scary, but it didn't sink the company. And it is a testament to my client and his combination of grit, personal character, fortitude, and perseverance that he fought back and saved the company. And I am pleased to say that the company is in a much better position now.
Well, Chuck, thank you for that confession. It sounded like it hurt, but it turned out okay in the long run.
It did hurt, but yeah,
Mhm.
it did turn out well.
So once changes are made, the succession plan triggers have been pulled. How do you know it's the best move? How do you monitor that, Chuck?
To start with, Jeff, there are no guarantees that a successor is going to work out. People move on for lots of different reasons. Some are completely out of our control. People's spouses might get offered a job in a distant city, so they have to move. People get sick or injured. Some people just decide to move on with their careers. These are actually part of the reason for positional succession plans in the first place, right? So, how do you monitor the succession? Well, you start by setting expectations in writing. And again, this can be part of a strategic plan, or it can just be part of a job expectation. But it also involves how the job of the owner or the person who's managing that successor changes, because now it places greater emphasis on mentoring, coaching, and monitoring progress. It involves scheduled meetings as well as informal meetings, tons of conversations and communication, candor, transparency, and vulnerability on both parts.
Well, Chuck, thank you for all this today. Hopefully, those watching will get their succession plan in place. But let's wrap up with your final words of advice.
Start with an understanding that at some point, both you and your workers are going to need successors in your positions. It isn't if, it's when. So start early. Don't wait until something happens or somebody decides to leave. Be proactive. Just like with any board game or sport, Jeff, always think 2 moves ahead. What happens if somebody leaves or goes down? How do I backfill that position? And finally, don't be surprised if your positional succession plan turns out to be a better employee retention tool than it is an employee replacement tool.